Well, hello everybody. Hello, Bettina. How you doing today?
I'm doing great. Hi, Eric. Hi, everyone. How are you? How are you?
I'm doing
Obviously,
good
I
today.
can't speak.
That's because you just spoke pretty much for 10 minutes as we played at this show here.
The
Yeah,
pre-show, yeah.
that's right. Um, yeah, life is good. We had, oh my God, just such beautiful weather a couple days ago. We had two beautiful days in a row and taking advantage of it, and just that tease of spring, now that it's the calendar has turned to March, and I can't wait. I've had my fill, and it's been nice to have the season and so on, but I can't wait for the snow to melt and for it to get warm and to be able to take walks in sunshine and start playing some baseball for me.
I was going to say the smell of baseball season is in the air, I'm sure.
That's right. I know we talked on a show a couple of weeks ago when the snow melted about being able to smell the ground once again.
Yeah, yeah. I'm sure it'll be here soon enough. This year's already going really fast.
Yeah, yeah, as always. But so what we wanted to talk about today was maybe we've had a couple shows of topical and current event shows, and so I think this one we're going to try to take it into a place and try to take it a little bit deeper into a place of recognizing where we are dismissing aspects of ourself or aspects of living a human life, and dismissing it and dismissing the awareness of all the things that are going on in and trading that for us living one side of a story that we've kind of created in our heads, and a story that is easier to live with than what might be the objective truth, so to speak. And so I'll let you take over, as this is kind of your baby.
Okay, so this is a story about recognizing that a spiritual journey is about acknowledging our human imperfection. And I had a really, as you know, I had a really hard time explaining it in our little pre-show talk. So I think this show today is going to be a perfect example of what I'm trying to explain, because I'm not sure how I'm going to do it. I'm not sure how I'm going to explain it. I'm not sure it's going to come across as understandable, because it is kind of deep, and it is almost like I'm still forming, the ideas are still forming, and sort of I'm still downloading them. So it's like trying to play an online, or it's trying to play a game or use an app while it's still downloading. It might be a little bit messy.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad, because this is
So
what's really exciting as far as like continuing your own spiritual journey and continuing your own self improvement, is when you kind of get into these spaces where you start to see new things, start to see new
mhm.
things in your own behavior, and of course in the behavior of others, and start to connect some dots and being like, wait a second, I think that there's a theme of something going on here. Let me explore it further, and hopefully this conversation will illuminate it, not only for the audience but also help you clarify what you're kind of pulling together as part of a theme with this.
Yeah, here's hoping. Okay, so a few weeks ago we talked about what I called the 5 stages of spiritual development. And I think this is kind of a continuation of that, because during that show, we talked about the stage where you're all about, I've got it now, I know what I'm doing, I am going to live this to the max, and I don't need anybody else's help anymore because I've got everything I need, and I'm down with it. And then something happens and you realize I know nothing. So it's that little section of those 5 stages that I think this is a part of. And I think when we hit that stage of, I got it, we start to ignore our human um, our human yeah, see, this is where I'm kind of, I don't want to say our human frailties, but maybe I do. Our human frailties, our human imperfections, our our human experience, really. And
Mm,
I think there's some part of us, I don't know if it's ego, superego,
right.
masquerading as spirituality, maybe, that is wanting to bypass our human experience so that we can not have to deal with the sadness, the guilt, the grief, the pain, the fear, the suffering, the anger. And we can just go into this place of, oh, it's a human thing. I'm beyond that now. We're not beyond it.
Mm,
We're not beyond it. We are still existing in this physical body. We are still on this plane of existence. And as that experience unfolds, we are still going to feel and think and do and make mistakes and be imperfect because we are in the human existence, the human experience, we are still imperfect. And we can say all we want, oh, but as a divine being or a spiritual being, I am perfect in every way. And so I'm not going to deal with that feeling of imperfection or that vulnerability or that frailty that I feel because I'm going to rise above it. We are denying our human experience. We are denying um, everything that we're here to experience. We might as well not be here if we want to be on that plane of, having it all figured out. Um, and so it's really, and I was saying to you before the show that Holly, the one who does the Course in Miracles group that I'm in, is very much about what she calls the and. It's all about the and. It's not, it's, I am human, I am messy and fragile and imperfect and crazy and angry and sad and all these things. And I am a beautiful divine being that is perfect and loving and kind and wonderful in every way. It's not either or. There's an and there. It's
mhm,
we're all of it together. And the thing that changes when we embark on this spiritual journey is not that we become less caught up in the humanness of our experience. It's how we perceive it that changes. And that's the only thing. Our experience doesn't change. Like people have a tendency to believe that, this law of attraction thing and, what I think I will become and all these things. It's not about, if I if I, embrace this spiritual journey, if I start to look at all these things and learn all the lessons, then my life is going to be this amazing thing where I'm never going to get sick and I'm going to have lots of money and I'm going to be, you know, everything is just going to be wonderful, wonderful, wonderful all the time. That's really not what it's about. It's very much about changing the perception of how we see our human experience, not changing our human experience. We still might get sick. We still might, not have enough money. We still might be alone and not have a partner in our lives. We still might have, things happen to us. We might lose our job. We might have a business that fails. We might, anything could happen. But our perception of that experience is the only thing that changes in the true spiritual journey.
mhm. Yeah, I feel like not only in spirituality, but maybe some other areas of life where we look to push aside what our real feelings are for the sake of the story about the thing. It almost like a dissonance between we're not really seeing our real feelings. We're seeing we're only seeing the feelings we've already decided on. that we've decided on that are part of this journey, and then we can go a long time with being unaware of what the real human feelings are about a thing. So it can be spirituality, it can be about a relationship or a marriage, where we have decided that this marriage is good. This is what I've always wanted. The marriage is going good. We've got these certain things in place. It's all hunky dory. But really, in a day, things can be great. Things can be bad. Things can be frustrating. Things can be uncommunicative. Things can be what have you. And to not deny the entire spectrum of human experience and emotions within something we've already decided is either good or bad.
Yeah. And I think I think we're just fooling ourselves if we start to look at things like, oh no, everything's good. Everything's good. This is a gift. That's a gift. Everything's a gift. It may be a gift, but I'm pissed off with you right now. That's the part we try and bypass, right? Because look at all this work we've done. We shouldn't feel that way anymore. And I think there's a big part of that is that, well, I've done all this work. I shouldn't be dealing with these things anymore.
Right. Yeah.
That's not true at all. You are going to be dealing with these things as long as you're, inhabiting this body. You're going to be dealing with human stuff as long as you're a human. And, beating yourself up or pretending that you're beyond it because, after all, you've spent 10 or 12 or 20 or 40 years doing this work, you're only hurting yourself because there may be other things that you're hiding from yourself by doing so and by saying, oh, yes, everything's wonderful. Everything's
Yeah.
great. I'm great. What I call unicorns and rainbows.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're lovely, but some days you wake up and you go, effing rainbow, my life sucks. And that's okay. Like, it's okay to feel that way. It's okay to feel anger and to feel fear and to, even after all this time, it's okay to feel those things because that is part of the experience. And again, it's how you look at it. Like depression is a really good one, or anxiety. I'm feeling all this anxiety. Now, I mean, I've had a lot of experience with anxiety, and it has changed over. I still get it, although not so much lately, but I still get it. But when I get it, now I go, I'm feeling anxiety again. Okay, let's just see what it feels like. Let's just be with it and see what it feels like. Whereas before, there were times where I'd say, I shouldn't be feeling this anymore because
Hmm.
I've dealt with all my issues. I shouldn't feel it anymore. And before that, oh my God, this is the most horrible feeling in the world. I cannot deal with it. It's overwhelming, which then just, compounds it. So it's those kind of things that change. I'm still having the same experience, but I'm experiencing it differently now because I'm have changed my perspective and I'm seeing it from the spiritual side of myself, is now observing it as opposed to the ego observing it.
Yeah.
Maybe that's a better
And,
explanation. I don't know.
and it's certainly a process which pumps out anxiety is the tamping down or the unrecognition of our humanness, or trying to shove a story of how we feel into some construct in our life, career, parenting, marriage, relationship, whatever, spirituality, religion, faith, whatever. And so we I think it's a thing that really does shoot off a lot of anxiety. If I think about, when I was going to church, and if I were to be like, well, things are all good because I'm going to church and there's only one God and I believe in the right God, of course, because that's the church I go to, and and but I'm not being critical. If I'm not being aware of how stuff sits with me, if I'm just like, well, I'll just not not really see that because it's a good thing, or I'm with my partner and we've been together. That whole sunk cost fallacy, where it's like, well, we've got 12 years in. I should never feel insecure about uh, their infidelity, or I should never feel like I'm not their number one priority, or and these things. And it's like, actually, I do feel that sometimes. I shouldn't feel frustrated at them, because look at all the things that we've built together and we've done for each other. And you wake up or you have a day and you feel resentment, and it's like, no, 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 no. Things are good. Things are good. Smile on my face. Put the makeup on. My kids are great. They're great. And they're you have like a 14-year-old who's cutting themselves, but it's all good. It's not a problem. It's just a thing. Things are good. I'm happy. And tamping that down over time, over weeks and months and years, can really lead to some really bad, intrusive thoughts and psychological consequences if we don't realize that, yes, it is great. The relationship is great. You've done so much. You've put together 12 great years together, or you've put 15 great years of work into your career, or you've raised two really good kids all in all. But within that story, I've done 10 years of spiritual work. I've done lots of self-improvement. I've devoted my life to faith. But within that, there can be periods of greatness, and there can be periods of anger, resentment, frustration, upset, sadness, despair, disbelief, insecurity. And to not acknowledge those things is not really to live a true human experience. Like, why be here anyways if we're just going to decide ahead of time what things are and what things aren't?
Yeah. I think it's like when someone wants you to play a board game with them, and you go, fine, I'll play the board game. And while you're playing the board game, you're on your phone and you're, distracted, and you're doing blah, blah, blah. You're not in the game, right?
Mm,
And it's about fully immersing yourself in the game, fully being in the experience. But doing it from an unattached place, which sounds cold but isn't, because that detachment allows you to see it differently. It allows you to observe it, to look at it, to feel it, and to be in that loving space as you're doing that. And I think that's what the difference is.
yeah,
Um,
and
I think a lot of people are out looking for happiness. What makes you happy? I do this. This makes me happy. What makes you happy? But it's really about, or what makes you feel loved, or what makes you feel, self-worth, or whatever. Don't think it's about finding what makes you happy. I think it's like the Course says, removing the blocks
yeah,
to feeling your happiness, your love, your joy, your self-worth, whatever. It's about removing the blocks. There's a big difference between the two.
yeah, yeah. A big part of removing the blocks is allowing the stuff to come out, looking at it, and releasing it. That
Exactly.
essentially what is the blocks. If you don't bring them up, look at them, and release them, then they remain blocks to truly feeling, because it's this tremendous subconscious and consistent practice of getting yourself out of the moment. I feel frustration, but no, no, it's all good. And you're not even in the moment with the frustration. How can it ever get resolved? How can you ever release it, if you just decide ahead of time what the story already is?
Mm-hmm.
And it's such practice. And then in the moments that are legitimately great, we're also, our mind is so trained to look ahead. What time do we got to leave? What are we doing tonight? What are we doing tomorrow? What's on the to-do list? What do I need to get done before bed? How can I do this again in the future? Rather than just sitting in the present moment and truly experiencing what it is to be a human being. Because why else be here? Why else be here if we're not going to experience and look at and be aware of all the things that are going on inside of us? And of course, there's choice and there's mental health and that we can work on so that we feel happier more often. But this is one of the tools to do that, to look at how we're feeling, bring it up, if necessary, bring it up with another person, communicate about it, and let it go. whether that's just with yourself or whether that's with somebody else. And that is what will get rid of the blocks to you actually experiencing each moment as it is and experiencing the incredible. We don't have any choice. We're a human being until we die. So, you might as well experience the experience.
Enjoy the ride.
Yeah. Yeah.
Somebody put you on the roller coaster, enjoy the ride.
Yeah. Yeah. Enjoy the loops, enjoy the up, enjoy the down, enjoy the
Yep.
side to side, enjoy the bouncing, enjoy the exhilaration. There's so much to experience, and so often we just simplify it into just a couple feelings about pre-associated feelings about things, and most of them have been what we've been told about it. It's not even our own real assessment of the situation.
Yeah. And I think it's just another way of escaping.
Yeah.
Sometimes that idea of spirituality is another way of escaping from, what it is you need to look at. And so we have to be really careful about, where we're at with our spiritual growth.
Yeah.
And like I said, I think this conversation is a bit of a continuation from that 5 steps of spiritual growth, 5 stages, whatever it was, of spiritual growth, because I think we can be led astray, just like anything else, like religion or politics or whatever. We can get led down a road that isn't really serving us in the end. We think it is, but somehow we, make a turn that isn't going in the direction that we need to go. And I think, the ego can sometimes use it as a distraction from, what's really going on in our real purpose. And that is to discover and remove the blocks to love, basically.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's like an oversimplification, and the ego loves to take the easy way out, and join a subculture or create subculture. And I know that we've talked a number of times, more off camera than on, about frustrations of the spirituality subculture of some of these more woo woo ideas of how to heal and get better and to offer healing, and to not and to almost just put the blinders on about life, and any solution that simplifies the human experience, while there may be a lesson or two in there. Beware of gurus, beware of the magical pill, beware of anything that just is like, it's just too simple. And it's almost like any subculture. Oftentimes they start with complicated, complex ideas that will further humanity, and they just get taken and run with into something that's superficial, simplistic, and misses the point of the original movement.
Yeah. Yeah, I think you really have to weigh in and listen to that inner voice, because I think when something is going in a direction that doesn't feel right. And I think it's like, going into a relationship and you've got all these gut feelings that are saying, this isn't probably what you're looking for, but you go ahead with it anyway. We really need to listen to that, because we end up finding out we were right in the first place. So we've really got to be more attentive to that inner voice and that gut feeling, and really pay attention to what we as spiritual beings and as human beings need and want and desire, and then make our choices from that place.
Yeah, yeah. Just sit down, be quiet, and look within, and you'll be. It's amazing how much stuff comes up that it's what your inner voice is telling you that you want, and it can be really scary when it's different from what you have, or it may no longer be what you have.
Mm-hmm.
It's used up its value, and your inner voice is telling you you'd like something different now, and then, oh my God, that's a scary thought, and you're like, no, 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 back down there. Things are good. Things are good. You know,
Mm-hmm.
you, you
Yeah.
know, it's just not life after that point. Once you tamp that back down, Why? We only have so many days. We only have so many healthy days. Why waste one? Continuing a path that's no longer working or no longer what it is your inner voice wants.
Yeah. And I mean, that's the nature of things, is that some things we, are good for a lifetime. Other things we stay with it until it's time to move on, and we recognize, yeah, this has been great, but I think I need to move on to something else now. I mean, I've had
Mm,
many clients that have come to see me, and then they go and do something else. As it's totally fine, because I'm not meant to be there every day for the rest of their lives. I mean, the whole point is to be able to move on. Um, and yeah, I think we have to be really cognizant of that and really pay attention to when that time arrives, no matter how. And if it's a difficult choice, then I think we're a little too attached to the method,
mhm. Yep.
as Ram
Yeah.
Dass would say.
Hmm. Yeah. And you can see this behavior easily in gambling. Throwing good money after bad. Don't
Mm-hmm.
throw good days after bad.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Well, we've used up our half hour, Bettina, and I think we've brought it to not only a thoughtful place, but also to a practical place, and I think it got out what it is we were trying to say. And so, thank you for that.
I hope so.
How do you feel about finishing us off with a meditation today?
I always feel good about that. So
Good.
let's do it.
Mm.
Let's close our eyes and take a deep breath and breathe fully into your body. Feel your feet deeply rooted to the ground. Feel the energy of the divine, that spiritual part of yourself flooding through you. Feel yourself connect to that space in you that knows truth and love and peace. And from that place, can you see the human experience, as messy as it is, and be totally at peace with allowing it to express itself in whatever way is necessary, whatever way it needs or wants to be expressed, and to allow it to express itself fully, and immerse yourself in that human experience that is full of thoughts and ideas, beliefs and feelings that all want to be expressed and acknowledged. It is in that space of being accepting that we can do it in a healthy way, that we no longer are urged or pushed to do it in an unhealthy way, to direct it towards other people, to be hurtful or unkind. In that space of being kind enough to ourselves to allow the expression of what we are thinking and feeling to present itself to us, is those moments that allow us to be more loving and kind to the rest of the world. And that is so important. So allow yourself to be imperfect. Allow yourself to be in the mess of your feelings and your emotions and your thoughts. Allow yourself to let them run their course and be released and acknowledged. And know that at the very core, in the doing of this, we are removing the blocks to that loving presence that lies within. And when you're ready, Wiggle your fingers and your toes and bring yourself back to the world.
Thank you, Bettina.
You're welcome.
Well, thank you everybody for joining us this week, and we'll see you all again next.
Have a great week, everyone.